Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our next business sustainability talk. It's already 2024, and we're really excited for this next version of business sustainability talks. For those of you that know, Business Sustainability Talks is an initiative by Shift Eco, a platform for sustainable products, and the Umbrella Institute, a leading sustainability advisory firm. And the whole aim of this session is to foster open dialogue. In this series, we invite sustainability leaders from different industries with the aim of hearing from them about what works in their industries, what other industries can follow in their sustainability journey, and what tips and tricks they have. Today, we have with us Kivanc. Share with us what his strategies and his point of view about sustainability in the automobile industry. So over to you, Kivanc. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the audience and give them some context.
Sure. First of all, Namrata, thank you so much for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure, and it's, to be honest, one of the nicest podcast studios that I have ever been. So thanks a lot for that to you and to EcoShift. Just briefly, a little bit about myself. I actually took cabs right now, so I'm running the ICE, as we call it, internal combustion engine units, in 5 markets at Volvo Group, Middle East and Turkey. And while we are here today, I also run the sustainable development solutions that we are providing to our customers and to business partners in the whole region, in the hub, as we call it, Volvo Group, Middle East and Turkey.
Right. Wow, that's really interesting. I believe you have a presentation with us here today.
Yeah, that's true. I prepared a quick one with you. I think it will probably take maximum 15 to 20 minutes. Maybe we can just go through over that.
Sure.
I think I will probably be able to answer some of the questions that you might have and the audience might have. I think we can start with what Volvo Group is about. I mean, I assume most of you have heard what Volvo is, what Volvo Group is. It might be a little bit busy slide, but just in short, we do have more than 100,000 employees working with us globally, worldwide. We do have a lot of production facilities. I think in that slide that you can see, the countries that where is white circles is the production facilities that we do have. The closest one for us is that we are very happy and proud to say that we have one production facility located in Saudi Arabia for Middle East. Let's say that we are serving globally all around the world, 190 plus markets. And obviously we do have presence in many different regions. So we do have, for example, in Dubai, the regional offices that is serving 10 plus countries, including also Turkey. So those circles that you see on the top and on the bottom, actually, the ones on the right is representing basically our businesses, and the one on the other side is representing the percentages of our employees globally. So obviously Europe is quite heavy, and maybe needless to mention that, but for those who doesn't know, our headquarters is in Sweden at Gothenburg. For us, obviously, Europe is quite important, and America and Asia are also quite strong. I think we can move to the next one. Just a little bit quick snapshot on what we have discussed. We have a global network of more than 2,100 dealers. And having said that, I'm very happy and proud to say that we're also partnered up with Automotive here in UAE, which is also another country that I'm happily looking after and working together with our business partner. When we are talking about the running population, basically we are referring 10 years old truck population. So for the last 10 years, we did actually deliver and sold to our customers more than 1.2 million trucks. So that's a quite impressive number. We have more than 130 countries our workshops and dealers are based at. So just last year, for example, we did deliver more than 150,000 trucks globally, worldwide. So these 2 slides were just a quick introduction about what Volvo Group is. What we are going to be talking today is obviously everything is towards zero in the transportation industry, right? So all of our employees, including myself, does not matter. Basically, I mean, if any employee of Volvo Group is having a sustainability title in their business cards, or not, but all of us, all the Volvo Group employees, together with our suppliers and business partners, we are working on the zero towards the sustainable solutions. That's why I want to put it, because obviously many people are quite familiar with the passenger cars, but not that many are familiar with the trucks, right? I mean, unless someone from your family or your relatives or the ones that you know in this business. Just to give you a quick snapshot of what a passenger car do mean in terms of sustainability and in terms of giving a damage, so to say, to the society in terms of environmental impact and a comparison with truck. So I think we can roughly say that, of course, it very much depends on person to person. Unless you're a commercial driver, unless you're a taxi driver, obviously you probably make much more mileage than this. But I think we can consider in average globally worldwide, a passenger car will be completing 15 to 20 kilometers, 20,000 kilometers per year. And just I can give an example from myself today. I mean, I just came here today and probably I would just be driving my car another half an hour. And I think most probably my car will be idling somewhere around 20 to 23 hours today. So it's actually even more than 90%. But just for the sake of the conversation, I think we can consider that most of the passenger cars globally worldwide is idling 90% of the time. Let's look at the comparison on a truck. So a truck is basically making much more mileage than any passenger car, obviously, because it's a commercial vehicle. Anytime that a truck stops, it basically means a loss of money, loss of turnover, and unhappy clients, unsatisfied customers at the end. So obviously, we are talking about more than 100,000 kilometers. And the truck, most of the cases, of course, it depends on the operation, it depends on the industry, but we can consider that most of the operations globally worldwide can be run 24/7. I think we can click once more. So a passenger car is roughly, I mean, we can consider, of course, it's always plus and minus, but it's roughly 2 tons. And if you compare the same one, the truck, of course, again, pluses and minuses, it can be less than 40 tons or 60 tons, but it can carry up to more than 100 tons in many occasions. So the comparison is that what is the carbon emission? A standard passenger car and a standard truck. The comparison is actually quite interesting. And that's like basically is telling everybody and to us, a passenger car is much, much more innocent, if I may say it, compared to a commercial vehicle or a standard truck. So maybe I can combine what I'm trying to say it in the next slides together with that one. Maybe you also didn't have a chance to look at the presentation. I was actually going to ask you, what is it?
I did. That's why I'm so intrigued.
Well, I was about to ask you, what is the percentage of the global carbon emission is coming out of heavy transport? But now we have the answer also on the screen, already on the screen. 7% of the global carbon emission is actually coming from the heavy road transportations. So Volvo Group, of course, is one of the biggest players globally worldwide when it comes to the heavy road transportation. So we know the fact that we are, so to say, included in that picture. But all of our intentions, all of our studies, and all of the research and development projects, studies, investments that we are doing is to be able to reduce down that number. We will be talking about electromobility. Of course, electromobility will not be the one and only part of the whole discussion, but I just wanted to inform that so far we have actually sold electric trucks in 42 different countries. Maybe we could click yes. Now we can see that we actually have delivered 6,000 plus trucks globally worldwide to our customers, so which we are very proud of with that. So maybe we can go a little bit into details, what is our history and why we are doing this for ourselves and as well as for the society. Of course, one of the most important things is that we would like to move and create the world that we would like to live in. Not only because of the commercial reasons, but at the same time for the future generations. And the next slide, I think we can click that, you will see that obviously at the end, we are an open public company, but we are also doing all these things for our kids, for our grandkids, and for the future generations, because we would like to deliver them a place that everybody can live.
Yeah.
A little bit history about Volvo Group. In the electrification and in the sustainability journey. Of course, in the last couple of years, because we started to see the impact of the global climate change and the temperature rising and etc., all these kind of things. However, our history is actually quite far back. Even in 1995, many years back, we already started with the conceptual trucks and buses. So even though actually I'm saying that, I mean, all these awareness campaigns, marketing activities, even the commercial activities started to become, I would say, very popular, especially in Middle East in the last probably 3, 4, 5 years, if I may say it. However, our history is very long back. So I'm not going to go into all the details in that slide. However, I would like to tell you that right now, all our heavy-duty commercial vehicles on the truck side that we are capable of going for a serial production. So it's already under the serial production.
Right.
So which we are very happy and proud to say that. Of course, our intention is to be the first, but at the same time, we also would like to be the market leader in these segments as we move on. COVID was not a great period, I think, for most of us. We were not able to see each other.
I think the whole automobile.
Exactly. I think the whole world, of course, very much including the automotive world and the commercial vehicle industry got a part of it. And at the same time, right after the COVID, I think we started to see a huge increase in the demands. Unfortunately, we started to see it on the grocery prices, grocery shopping prices, even in commercial vehicle prices, passenger car prices. I would say that we started to see an increase on the prices on commercial vehicles. So basically, that happened because the demand is increased a lot. And of course, the demand on the transportation industry is also increasing a lot. And at the same time, we have very solid targets to reduce down that 7% that we just spoke a couple of minutes back. So how are we going to do that? So of course, we will not find a solution just in this half an hour or 1 hour podcast show, but I also would like to talk a little bit about that part. So I'm also just trying to say that the challenge is actually increasing more and more because of the demands. I think this slide is quite important. So basically, this is Volvo Group targets. Compared to 2019, we have a target to reduce our carbon emission by 50% in 2030. And we also have a target to reach 100% reduction in the carbon emission on the vehicles, on the trucks that we are manufacturing by 2040. Why we are talking about 2050, as I mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, maybe you remember that we are looking at our 10-year truck population. So, of course, when we reach, hopefully right after 2040, we will also be able to have net zero in all of our products by 2050. So Volvo is obviously one of the companies signed on science-based targets. And these are our global targets. So we are also following these targets, not only in Sweden, not only in Europe, but as well as we are also following these targets regionally here in Middle East. And each and every region is also following these very ambitious targets. I think that's a quite big commitment from our organization to the world, to our society, and to our responsible partners.
It is a very big commitment, and I wonder what are the initiatives that Volvo Group is doing to meet these commitments, because a lot of companies in different industries are making these commitments. Is there a strategy in place? You said you're part of the SBTi, the science-based targets. So what does the roadmap look like, and what are the initiatives? I hope I'm not interrupting the presentation.
No, definitely. I mean, please feel free. I mean, you can definitely ask, or at the same time, I mean, if you are receiving any questions from the audience, please also just let me know. So we will try to answer as many as possible, as much as possible. Obviously, we have a solid strategy. So as I said, Volvo is one of the first, I will say first European heavy vehicle manufacturer started on the serial production. So that was a huge step. And we did that mainly because we want to be the first one. in the industry, and we also want to be the first one that we can offer these kind of solutions to our customers. So we already actually have delivered trucks in Middle East to our customers. I'm again very happy and proud to say that together with our business partner automotive that we did deliver trucks to our customers in the UAE. And at the same time, I mean, these targets are not only considering the electromobility targets, these are sustainability targets in general. So maybe I will go a little bit into the details about alternative solutions, but in general, electromobility or sustainability is not only electromobility for us. I mean, there are also different ways, there are also different solutions, which probably we will talk a little bit about on this in the coming slides or in your questions. For example, we are talking about the biodiesel or the alternative solutions, which again, I'm very happy to inform you that we already have delivered our biodiesel trucks to our customers even long back, even 4 or 5 years back, we already start delivered. And we are actively also looking for client base. We are also actively looking for partnership with so many different organizations that we can offer these type of solutions. It's not easy, but we do have solid strategies and plans in mind. A couple of things needs to be in place, obviously. I mean, to give you a little bit broader answer to your question, I mean, this boils down to the complete ecosystem. We as manufacturers are one part of the equation. Government, grids, total electricity capacity on the lines is another.
Financial institutions,
Financial institutions is another part of the equation. Range in all of the solutions that we will provide, that we can provide to our clients, to our business partners, is also another part of the solution. What is the range that we can offer on the electromobility? What is the range that we can offer on the alternative fuel solutions? And what is the range that we can offer on the hydrogen fuel cell technology? Coming back to the governments, obviously these vehicles are actually a little bit higher investments compared to the ICE units to the customers. So basically, I mean, are we able to commercially feasible? I mean, are we able to provide these offers to our customers and create the feasibility, create the financial logic? Are we getting any support from the local authorities, from the governments and different organizations? That's also another part of it. For each and every solution that I mentioned, and infrastructure, for example. I mean, obviously, you need a different infrastructure for the EVs, EV charging stations. You definitely need a little bit different charging solutions for the alternative fuels. And you also need to have different solutions. And you need to have the infrastructure for the hydrogen solutions, for example. So, I mean, obviously, we are doing everything, whatever we can do. We are heavily investing on the research and development and all these kind of things. But at the same time, the ecosystem is a little bit complex. So not everything is boiled down to the manufacturer side, but it also boils down to the third parties. That we are not actually by just sitting and doing nothing. We are having a lot of conversations with the government authorities, with rule makers, even with DIWA here, for example, in UAE. So, I mean, it's a large ecosystem and everybody needs to take their share, and we need to actually walk the talk. I mean, not just talk the talk.
So I want to spend some time on the electrification part of it, because from a layman perspective, when people look at the automobile industry, it's always assumed an electric vehicle is better than a regular vehicle. But what about the electricity grid? How do you all play that in as a factor when you all are looking at your emissions, and how do you educate the end consumers? Because end consumers are all about trends and they focus on trends. So electric vehicle is the trend that everyone wants to ride on, but it's probably not the smartest solution for most end consumers. So how do you all balance that at Volvo?
Sure, I think grid is a quite important issue. I hope I'm not exaggerating, but at the same time, I'm a little bit happy that not everybody in the whole society are using electric vehicles. And not all society are using electric commercial vehicles, because unfortunately, just even at least for one reason, we don't have the enough capacity on the grids. And for example, I mean, I think I'm just looking at Burj Khalifa right now. I mean, I don't know how many floors does it have, probably 150 or 180 plus. So imagine you are living in that building, or you are living in Marina or high-rise residential buildings. Obviously, the grids should be able to support the needs or to supply what these electric vehicles or even the commercial vehicles will need it. None of our cities, very much including Dubai, UAE, or any country in the whole world, was not built up by the time when all these architects or governments, local authorities build up these places. They actually did not consider that everyone will be having an electric vehicle one day. Therefore, grid capacity is not good enough. But let's just not only blame the grid capacities. Obviously, the main critical item is that you need to have an excess energy on the premises, on the locations, on the buildings, or even in the townhouse or a villa, wherever that you are living. So the excess energy is not available on each and every location. So this is kind of a little bit showstopper. And I think I was talking a little bit about the difference between the passenger car and a commercial vehicle. I was talking about the carbon emissions just for a standard passenger car and a commercial vehicle. But again, in terms of the energy needs, energy requirement for a typical passenger car and a commercial vehicle is quite different. I mean, you please try to remember the figures, what I have said. Again, I mean, I'm not going to be pointing out any brands, but roughly passenger cars are in the range of, let's say, 60, 70, 80 kilowatts. Capacity, of course, there might be pluses and minuses, but I'm just talking about the average. If I need to talk about the Volvo Group Volvo Truck solution, it's actually more than 500 kilowatts capacity. So basically, if you are to use a standard a charging infrastructure that you are using for your passenger car, I think I'm not exaggerating, but it might take even more than a week for any truck driver, for any fleet owner to charge their cars. So grids on top of the electric infrastructure, and at the same time, I mean, let's not only talk about the external issues. Obviously, we as manufacturer, a solution provider for the commercial vehicles, we are heavily more than a couple of billion euros, dollars that we are investing, so that how we can actually provide a better solutions to our customers, how we can make it feasible, how we can provide a longer range, how we can actually provide solutions so that they can carry a heavier loads than what is our offering today.
Right. Okay.
So grid is definitely one of the most.
And then clean energy is the other one, right?
Definitely, so right, so critical, and also at the same time a very, very sensitive topic. So of course, I want to assume that whomever are using electric vehicles, they are actually sourcing the energy from clean, green sources.
Right.
Unless you actually source the energy, let's say, for example, from a generator, that will not make so much sense, right? So obviously, our intention to have a complete net zero in the whole cycle, which actually we as Volvo Group, or just sitting on a manufacturer side, are not controlling the external factors, but obviously, ideally, definitely, it's a target that we need to reach. So I mean, we are having these type of conversations with the local authorities.
No, I think it's a complex issue because there are different players and there's so much you can do as a company. You need the government and other players to do their bit. So I understand it's critical, but I think as end consumers, it's important for us to understand that EVs as, you know, an automobile option is not always the best option. And we have to take into mind if we can source clean energy and if it makes sense in the largest.
Sure, definitely.
So you would say, telling us about the strategy for the net zero strategy. So if you can walk us through the balance between electro-mobility and the other things that...
Exactly. I mean, let's just maybe quickly skip that one. This is our global lineup for the electric vehicles. I mean, we are providing a lot of different solutions. The one on the previous picture that you saw on the edges, left and right, was basically representing our medium duties. We actually don't need to go back to the previous slide. We can stay on that one, but and the other ones was basically for our heavy-duty solutions. What are the adaptation phases on the battery electric vehicles? I mean, let's just take these through and talk about the alternative solutions that we are working on it and we are capable of providing today. Obviously, right now, we are at the early adaptation stages, right? Because of the many reasons. I mean, the infrastructure, commercial reasons, many other things. So we are mainly targeting image-driven customers, and these customers are most of the cases multinational, international companies who are usually signed also science-based targets. They usually have a global targets, so visions are very much matching, targets are very much matching. So these are the ones that we basically are capable of targeting right now. And in the second stage, I think we will be able to see a broader perspective. We will be able to see that we will get the scalability when actually there is a financial feasibility on these units. And at the same time, when the infrastructure, I mean, we do not know, but if local authorities or if governments here in the Middle East start to think about incentivizing or giving some benefits, subsidies to the electric vehicle owners. Again, I'm not going to be pointing out any countries globally, but at past or even today, a couple of countries in Europe, in America, and in some different regions were actually providing quite big support when it comes to the electrification or going to net zero sustainable solutions. Of course, we cannot expect these kind of support at all the time, but I always say that it will actually accelerate the transition. So it will help everybody to feel, to test, to understand, to get used to. First, after we increase awareness, of course, that will be the second stage that probably we are expecting to see. And on the final adaptation stage, of course.
Can I ask what timelines you think? Like, is this a 10-year time frame? Is it a 20-year time frame? How do you see the time frames attaching to these different phases?
I think it will be very different from on each and every different part of the world. I mean, for example, if you are talking about Middle East, obviously, I mean, it's no secret, right? We are quite rich in fuel. Obviously, I mean, UAE, Saudi, and many countries in the Middle East are one of the biggest exporters of the oil to the world. But again, I do not know. I'm just quoting on the research and studies from very respectable organizations on that part. Many organizations are saying that we will most probably be running out of the oil, or the oil capacity that we do have globally worldwide will not be good enough to satisfy the demands by somewhere around 2050. Not everything also, of course, also depends on the oil production and many other things. But again, it also depends on several factors. I mean, our offerings will not be changing because, I mean, at the end, we're a global manufacturer, but how the governments will pursue, how the governments will invest on the grids, how fast the charging infrastructure can become widely available. Will there be incentives? Will there be subsidies? Will there be at least maybe kind of penalties on the passenger cars who are actually contributing more carbon emissions than the others? I assume you're also living in Dubai. If you have a car or not, probably you know what RTA is. And if you already register your car, or once every year, they are actually giving you a report for the carbon emission. So how harmful your vehicle is to the environment, to the society on each and every year. Just thinking loudly, maybe out of the box. Guys, this is the limit. And if you pass that limit, there will be a penalty. So, I mean, not only necessarily the incentives that the government needs to take the money from their pocket and give it to the clients, customers at the end, but there could also be these kind of, let's say, fine penalties, or I couldn't find a better word right now, but these kind of initiatives that could be taken. So my answer is that I think our global targets are quite obvious, 2030, 40, so that we reach 2050, but probably this development will be very different. The pace, the speed will be very different from one country to another country.
Fair. That makes sense.
Maybe a little bit easier slide. I will try to simplify it for you. I think you see three different signs: battery sign, hydrogen, and at the same time you still see a pump, a fuel pump. But don't you worry about seeing the fuel pump, because it is an alternative fuel, so it's not a fossil fuel. What we are basically foreseeing, according to the research that we did in Europe, many customers, many transport suppliers in Europe is actually having a daily operation less than 300 kilometers per day.
Okay.
That we are already able to capture that. We are already able to provide that with our current range offering. And again, it's no secrets. We are heavily investing and working on the hydrogen fuel cell technology. And obviously, by the time when it comes, by the looks of it, it will be providing a much higher cross combination weight or the ton carrying capacity. And at the same time, the range will be much higher than battery electric vehicle.
Right. So currently you all are mainly on this energy grid, right?
I mean, obviously right now we are selling ICE units as well.
Yeah, okay.
This is still most, or the big portion of the business is coming.
Yeah.
I think that is not only valid for Volvo Group,
Yeah,
that is valid for
across, yeah.
That is valid for across all industries, all other brands.
Yeah.
But depends on the energy needs, depends on the range needs. What we actually try to say that we will not only provide electric vehicle solution to the customers. If actually a heavier load, more than 45, more than 60 ton is required, then we will actually hopefully be able to provide them a hydrogen fuel cell technology. And still ICE units, internal combustion engines, will definitely be a part of our life. I mean, not each and every country or not each and every continent is as developed as any other in the world. For example, I mean, if we talk about Africa or even the Middle East, actually some countries are still struggling with a continuous, stable electric flow, even for the households. So under these circumstances, of course, it will be very difficult for us to talk about that we're going to be having a 100% scalability on the electromobility.
Right.
Let me fasten up a little bit. I think you might also have some other questions.
Yeah, sure.
I think we already gone through that part. There are a lot of key enablers. Obviously, as manufacturers, we range payload and charging partly a little bit boils down to us or the charging infrastructures and the government. I think we already talked about it, right? So purchase of the vehicles infrastructure and the taxes. What will be the tax benefits or penalties that the government will be implementing in the future? So in short, obviously, sustainability ecosystem or the electric mobility ecosystem is much more complex and complicated than internal combustion engines for now.
Yeah.
I think we already covered that part.
Yes.
We are basically foreseeing 3 parallel roads: battery electric vehicles, fuel cell electric, and combustion engine with the alternative fuels. So I would like to emphasize once again, EV is not the one and only way that we'll be moving on, and that's we are already not moving on today either.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the biofuels and the alternative fuels? Because, okay, great, this is the slide.
Sure, exactly. I think in UAE we are quite lucky, and at the same time, I can also clearly say that Middle East, it also started to become a little bit more popular compared to before biodiesel technology. It is actually not net zero. However, if you compare with Euro 5 or Euro 6, it is much, much more healthier than any other fossil fuel technology or offerings that we can provide or the industry can provide to the fleet owners. And why I said that we are lucky, because there are already some suppliers in UAE, and there are already some suppliers in Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry if my knowledge is not good enough, but these are the 2 countries, at least I know the fact that there are biodiesel suppliers available. And what we did actually, we were not only satisfied by just knowing that the biodiesel supply is available. So we actually have approached those organizations and checked their quality, checked their actually fact sheets. So we even actually have some approved biodiesel suppliers in the country, so our customers actually can approach them and use it. So again, as I said, it's not net zero. However, compared to a fossil fuel technology, it's much.
And from a financial standpoint, how expensive are these biodiesel?
Well, I mean, there is a little bit difference if you compare it with the fossil fuel or the oil that you can get from the fuel stations. However, if you compare with the electric mobility or electric vehicle solutions that we are providing, from the financial perspective, of course, it is much more attractive compared to an electric vehicle. I think we also talked about the fuel cell and hydrogen technology. Volvo is very heavily investing on this technology. So we are expecting in the next couple of years, without giving you an exact time, I think our offerings will also be ready. I know that there are some big organizations that are very much interested in UAE, so they already started to ask some questions. They already actually declared an information or informed us that they would like to partner up with us. So by the time when our offerings will be ready, obviously you will also be able to see these type of trucks on UAE and Middle East roads. I think this is the last slide. I actually would like to suggest and advise all clients to think about in their operation, how they can actually go for more sustainable solutions. Not necessarily that they need to buy a new vehicle, they need to replace their vehicles, but even with their current operations, I'm pretty sure that there are ways that they can reduce down the fuel economy. They can be more sustainable and they can be less harmful to the environment and to the society. And at the same time, there are a lot of investigations that these customers, these clients needs to make. So we are very happy that we can provide these guidance and tools to them. So we'll be very happy to actually train them, educate them, or share all the information and knowledge that we do have with them. So I suggest, if not each and every client of us or the fleet owners can sign on the science-based targets, but they can even start even today, because there are a lot of solutions, there are a lot of different options that they can choose and make a difference in their current operations.
Right. No, that's absolutely cute for this presentation, Kivanc. I think.
Sorry, maybe it took a little bit longer than what I was
expecting.
expecting.
I think it was a conversation, so I am quite happy with the way it went. So, firstly, thank you for that.
Thank you so
I think
much.
for me it was a good vision of what the Volvo Group is doing. Now I want to deep dive a little bit on the automobile industry. I understand that the automobile industry is complex because there are different players in the market. But in an ideal world, where do you think the industry is going? How do you see the industry evolving? And what would be your the next, like the new innovations that you are looking out for in the industry?
I think the industry is definitely shifting towards the sustainable solutions.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the figures in UAE and Middle East. I think the growth on the EV vehicles is way more than double-digit figures in the last 3 years. So it's, I think, no-brainer that the sustainable solutions, either on the hybrid or the electric vehicle or the different solutions, will keep it on moving. And at the same time, it's like a chicken and egg situation. I mean, thanks to the UAE government, thanks to many private entities, organizations. Right now, for example, we are at this hotel, and I was very happy to see even charging infrastructure outside. So I'm assuming this is actually an initiative taken by this privately owned entity, so which is also very nice for me to see that. So I think this development definitely will evolve. And at the same time, what kind of different technologies or innovations we might see it? There are different versions of the sunlight energy that is absorbed by the world, and in how many minutes that we get the whole energy that the whole earth needs in a year. Some sources are saying 2 minutes, some sources are saying 20 minutes, and some are saying 90 minutes. But let's just say for the conversation, 2 hours maximum is the total energy an earth is getting from the sun that is required for the whole year energy. Imagine the capacity of the solar panels. Imagine the capacity of the sunlight. I think definitely UAE governments, many other UAE local authorities and many other countries in the Middle East, they are heavily investing on the solar panels. But if you are able to capture just a little bit portion of it, I think it will definitely be a game changer. Obviously, we all know the fact that the single biggest solar panel that we do have in UAE, it's a fantastic initiative and it's growing, it's building up more. But are we really using the maximum capacity of the potential that the that sunlight to actually provide us, especially for Middle East countries? I think we are very lucky, probably. I mean, we have more than 350 days the sunlight, and are we capturing good enough? my personal view is probably not.
Fair.
So if you are able to capture the sunlight, and if we also maybe, I mean, I'm just thinking out of the box right now, if we can also utilize this energy on our vehicles, and if we can convert it by any means to the battery electric vehicles or the hydrogen vehicles with the fuel cell technology, I think definitely these kind of things will be a big game changer.
I think that's a really positive way to look at it. We have so many tourists coming to UAE for the sunlight. There's so many ways we can use it in a more productive manner. I completely agree with you on that. I'm aware of time, Kivanc. That's why I want to ask you some questions more about how like, we want to talk about collaboration. You talk a little bit about your collaborations with biodiesel manufacturers in Saudi and UAE. If we look at it, if we go industry agnostic for a second, what could other industries learn from the automobile industry? What could be some learnings and advice you could give any of our viewers from other industries that are watching today's episode?
I mean, of course, transportation is basically covering a lot of industries, right? Food is transported, electronics are transported, I mean, clothes are transported.
Everything is transported.
Basically, yes. I mean, basically, you can say that everything is transported. So we are in contact with many different organizations. Like, for example, the very first truck that we did deliver in UAE was handed over to an FMCG customer, a global huge giant organization, which is Unilever, by the way. I don't like to share it with you. I think we should be just the opposite. We should be very happy and proud. I know the fact that they're also very proud of with that. So obviously, we are always sharing our best learnings. We are always sharing our practices. Not necessarily it has to be on the product level. Obviously, I mean, FMCG company and our organization is manufacturing or producing or delivering quite different things to the end users at the end. But we are also sharing a lot of knowledge, best practices, and we are also having these type of dialogues with so many different industries. And I believe all these kind of platforms, all these panel discussions and these podcasts, all these kind of marketing activities or the awareness campaigns, I think is really helping everybody at the end. Because I personally, to be honest, looking at it each and every opportunity, and I'm trying to understand what I can learn. Even it maybe has nothing to do with our own specific industry or with our vehicles, I think we are at the end all on a very, very learning curve.
Yeah, I really like that approach of learning, because I think we're all in the early adaptation phase of sustainability. Most industries, we're changing the way we do business. We're now keeping planet as one of the variables, which is traditionally not the case. So I think in this learning journey, it's very important for all of us to be open to learn from different people. So it's been really nice hearing all your points of views. I think the time was short. We could go on talking for a really long time. So before we end, can we take a few questions?
Definitely.
Maybe just two? Yeah. Okay. So
Alpana and Hassan.
So we have one question from Alpana. EV vehicles battery supply chain is not sustainable. The mining of cobalt and lithium is contributing to climate change. How is this being addressed by Volvo?
Well, I mean, that's a quite important point. So first of all, we need to acknowledge that part. And at the same time, we also need to look at it how we are actually supplying the batteries. Volvo actually announced that we are even heavily investing and opening up our battery plants by ourselves. So we will actually, in the long run, hopefully we will not only be getting these kind of batteries from the externals, so we will actually do it by ourselves. Not only the batteries, even the steel, for example, that is manufactured and used in all of our vehicles is actually, unless it's 100% fossil fuel, could also be giving a damage to the environment. So we are not only thinking about the EV vehicles and the batteries, but we partnered up with SSAB, which is also public. I mean, everybody can see that figure in 2021, 2022. And we are actually even today started to manufacture 100% fossil fuel-free steel and chassis material for our vehicles. Our intention in the long run is actually to be able to build up a truck that is 95% recyclable. Maybe you can consider why not 100%, because all of our research and studies is actually showing us right now, unfortunately, 5% of the vehicles that we may manufacture even in the future may not be recyclable. So we may not do that. That point is very, very important, and we are really thinking about taking all the precautions internally for our operations very, very seriously.
Right. So I hope that answers your question, Alpana. We also have a question from Hassan. How is Volvo positioning itself in the MEA mega projects such as the Line, Red Sea, Oxygen, and how do they bring sustainable innovation to these projects, if it's not confidential?
I think it's not confidential. Of course, I mean, NEOM is a project that is well known by everybody. Of course, I mean, with our business partner in Saudi Arabia and ourselves, Tractor, we are in very, very close contact with NEOM. Not only Volvo Trucks, basically, I mean, even in the business, other business entities, construction equipment, and other divisions of Volvo Group, we are having very close cooperation and contact with them. I really admire their targets. I really admire their ambitions. And it's going very fast. They already started to put the charging infrastructures for the passenger cars. They actually already started to invest in many different vehicles and operations. It's not a confidential secret that we are having quite close collaboration and cooperation with NEOM, and it will also continue in the future.
Right. Okay. Are there any other questions? We're a little short on time, so if you do have questions, please feel free to email us or message us, and we definitely ask Kivanc. Any last words or any last?
I mean, once again, thank you so much for inviting me here. I think we discussed a lot of topics, and maybe the last thing that I may suggest to the companies, does not matter actually if it's a big multinational company that you have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, or you just maybe only have a couple of people in your organization. Really, I think it would be very good if anybody can sign up on the science-based targets, because unless you have a target, you will not be able to know, you will not know where you are going ahead.
Yes.
Unless you have a target, you will not be able to take these actions, or you will not push yourself. You will not push the organization, people, and the teams to hold all these measurements, precautions. And not everything is about the product or the manufacturing facility. I would say that everything is starting by ourselves. It may sound funny and a little bit interesting for some people, but it actually even covers your purchasing habits, your eating habits, your lifestyle, and the way how you basically run your life from the morning till the time that you go to bed. I think all of us, including big companies, small companies, and even on the individual levels, very much including everything. I mean, we are taking hundreds and thousands of decisions each and every day. Imagine you put sustainability in the front of your decisions. We will actually be able to deliver a much better world for the future generations.
No, absolutely. I think that's a really nice way of putting it. I think a lot of times we focus on companies and the government and we look at others, but I think it starts from us.
Exactly.
And I think that's a lovely way of wrapping it up. Thank you so much for coming here, Kivanc, and sharing your knowledge, your insights. I personally really enjoyed it, and I'm sure everyone watching did enjoy it too. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. For everyone that attended, thank you so much for attending. We will continue this series. We will have our next one coming up in Feb. Watch our space to know about our next session. And if there's certain topics or certain aspects that you want to hear more about, feel free to reach out to us. The aim of the business sustainability talks is to build dialogue. So we'd like to build content that you'd like to see. So feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much again for attending, and have a very good day ahead.